Liane.
Hi, Amada.
How are you?
I'm great, thanks.
Oh, are we excited for our podcast?
Yes, can't wait to talk about today's episode.
Yes, Fandom Entanglement, Season 1, Episode 6 of Sliders, The Weaker Sex. Speaking of which, associates, where are you?
Your drink?
Thank you.
You are, my dear. Like it.
Let's talk about it.
Anyway, I'm the husband, Damon.
That's right.
Yeah, I'm Amada's husband.
And I'm Liane's husband, Mike.
And yeah, we're talking about the weaker sex. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So. It was a great episode, I thought. It took on all of the embellishments of what I believe in. Female empowerment.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, yes, but I would say to that, like, I mean, I'll have some comments as we get going, but I think its heart was in the right place, but there were some ham-fisted moments.
Well, what do you mean by that?
I don't know if we need to do any kind of like recap first or if we usually just jump right in, but like, for example, I think the kind of trope about like a world ruled by women wouldn't have any violence or war, that one doesn't hit for me. I think that it also didn't match sort of like how we saw the women behaving in the weaker sex either. So it was a little hard to believe. I mean, I enjoyed watching it. But I think some of the characters' motivations sort of were not what they thought they were also.
Mm-hmm. You mean like the females?
No, I mean, so like, you know, Arturo gets so kind of incensed at the structure of this world that he's impassioned. He wants to run for mayor and make things just and fair for men everywhere. And, you know, he presents himself as, you know, on this crusade for equality. And it's hard to see whether the writers meant us to take that sort of as a serious parallel with women running for office in the 90s in the real world. But I think watching him, it was clear to me that his real motivation was not equality, but just like real like contempt that women were speaking to him in a way that he was not used to.
Yes, I agree with that. It did seem like he really jumped the gun and like jumped into it right away instead of like sitting back and going, let me take a look and really listen to what's her name? Wade, and be like, well, let's just give this like a second to like digest and see what they like. And she kept giving him examples like, well, there's no war and there's no famine and like they don't, you know, they do all these things. And then the women were, a little bit more testosterone than we're used to seeing. Yeah. But at the same time, we go through our cycle every month, once a week, once a month. And I did love that level of testosterone, and men can't even deal with it when we're doing it. Right. So the fact that they just kind of step into it and are like, and this is how it is.
Yeah. I was kind of like in the same, in the same boat with that. It wasn't one of my favorites. I like the episode. I do. It's you know, I always like, especially first season of Sliders. And rewatching it again, I'm just like, I have kind of those same issues. It just seems like, you know, kind of get into it a little bit as we get into maybe the plot a little bit. But those were my things. I don't know. How about you, Mike?
Oh, hello, Mike.
I'm on the opposite. It's still one of my favorites of the first season. My biggest memory, of course, being the twist at the end, where the results are shared. the premise of the complete role reversal on the dominant gender of society is a memorable plot to follow along. But I see where you're coming from with your plot holes, but it's still one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So before we continue, do we want to just kind of? It was your turn, Mike, to do the synopsis and stuff. So we actually skipped over that, but
right.
Yeah. So I don't know. Do we want to do that, or we just want to?
Well, we can let one of the real hosts do it. We're just special guests, Damon.
That's okay. We'll let you help us with the synopsis today.
Oh, okay, fine.
All right. Do you want to do
it? Good delegating.
Okay.
So, The Weaker Sex originally aired on May 3rd, 1995, and in it, Arturo finds himself in a potentially deadly mayoral race on a world where men are treated as the weaker sex, and women hold positions of power and influence. We have our regular cast of Jerry O'Connell as Quinn, Sabrina Lloyd as Wade, Clavant Derricks as Rembrandt, and John Rhys-Davies as Arturo. Our guest stars in this episode were Sarah Botsford as Anita Ross, Robert Curtis Brown as Danny Eisenbach, and Jill Teed as Serena Braxton. The episode was written by Dawn Prestwich and Nicole Yorkin, and directed by Vern Gillum.
Yep.
Worlds visited: Feminist World and Tropicana World.
That's what it says on earthprime.com. I also made a note. I don't like Feminist World. Let's just call it Woman's World.
Yeah. This is not a feminist world.
Not really, but whatever. We get our stuff from earthprime.com, as we said before. So we kind of did the first impressions. I mean, the biggest thing that they're here for like 6 weeks, right?
Yes,
which is like the longest window that we've gotten. So, I don't know. I don't remember if they've ever been on a world longer than that. I don't know.
That was a shock to me too, because I was thinking, I'm like, they're usually only like 9 days or 3 days or 2 hours, and they're like, this is a long-term assignment.
Yeah.
And then I had a question: we're still in season 1, right? So we're not looking at Arturo, a different Arturo. This is like
no,
okay.
No, not yet. No,
just wondering, because I was like, is this the same guy?
Yeah, right,
right. Yeah. Okay.
For clarification, we watched it a while ago, and then like you like kind of did your rewatch of this.
Yes.
Yeah. So
just curious.
Yeah. So it kind of was a blur, probably. Yeah. So and they had like $5 left, so they basically have to use that taste test for the pretzel, right?
Oh, you got $5.
Yeah.
Right.
Rembrandt had 39 cents or something like that.
Yeah. And then they say, and the guy says President Clinton is about this, or they ask President Clinton, like, oh, that means it must, because it was Bill Clinton at the time. But then, and they mentioned, what did he mention? The loudmouth. How does the president get anything done with that loudmouth living in the White House with them, like, or something? So you assume they're talking about Hillary, but they're actually talking about Bill Clinton because Hillary's the president.
Yeah.
And fun fact. Sorry.
Mike, yeah.
I was just going to say, fun fact, Hillary Clinton turned down playing herself in this episode for that little scene.
Wow.
But the guy who did play her basically only ever plays Hillary Clinton. So
that's cool.
Yeah. It's like pigeonholed into that.
Yeah.
You did notice off the bat, too, that they were like, we're going to share it equally. Thank you, Wade.
That's right.
She split the whole couple into 4 pieces, and even the guy was looking at her like, really?
That's right. Good catch. Good catch. Yeah. And that brings up my first question: is if this is a woman's world, and as we find out later that it was hundreds of years ago, shouldn't the currency be different? Why would there be men on the currency? Right? Washington would not be on the $1 bill.
Did they show the dollar bill?
No, but if you're giving somebody, I mean, maybe they could get away with it a little bit because he was giving him change, and maybe he didn't really look at it closely enough. But I would think that even the change would be completely different, and the money would look different. So wouldn't they?
They made a big deal of the money being different in the, the one where the Revolutionary War went a different way, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, or even in the pilot, with the dollar bill, right.
The Soviet world,
Yeah.
Well, even I know, I didn't even really know this, and I'm a tour guide. Who's done tours in D.C. There were all kinds of denominations that the regular public has not seen. There was like, they had to approve them and disapprove them and approve them. And like, we went to this pawn shop and they had like all these different dollar bills and $5 bills. Mm-hmm. So there's been numerous different states of our currency until today.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just saying, they probably didn't notice because they were so hungry, but.
Yeah. Well, I'm just thinking like even like the guy who was actually taking the money, I guess maybe he didn't look at it closely.
Oh, because the president was about to speak.
A good point. Okay. Mm-hmm. Good point. Yeah. But then that's another thing. So if there has never been any major wars, then how are we living in the United States? Was there a Revolutionary War? Has there ever been any political uprisings because women have been in charge? Because they got sick of war, right?
Yeah, probably. Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, no Hitler, obviously, in the 1930s. Mm-hmm. That would not have happened. Yep. So no World War II or even no World War I. So that's so kind of...
We must have colonized, and that was it. We were like, we're done with the guys with their war and moved on.
Yeah, I was wondering, because Wade says later a vague a couple hundred years ago, and there was no specific number, but maybe it could have been after the Revolutionary War, and maybe Washington was left on the money because he was part of the revolution, and maybe it was that particular war I was thinking that made women decide enough is enough. We've got our freedom. Let's stop having wars.
Yeah,
maybe they said something about the plebiscite or something like that. I don't know what that was that they said. It was like, that's what they formed. I have no idea what that is.
Union. Their own union.
I guess it's like a union.
It's actually on the money. The Latin word that you're talking about.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, and then Rembrandt sees that magazine, Sports Monthly.
Yeah.
And that Men in Swimsuits. Is that what it was? It's supposed to be a magazine for women, I'm guessing, because if it's
everything on this world's for women.
But it's like because it's like Sports Illustrated. Because Sports Illustrated has the swimsuit issue for specifically for the men. So this is like it's supposed to be the Sports Monthly seeing the men in tighties, I guess, or something in the briefs.
Yeah, why not?
I guess.
There was also a magazine on the stand with Catherine Janeway, Kate Mulgrew, on the cover.
Really?
It's kind of a blink and you miss it, but when Rembrandt's looking at that particular magazine, you see her. So I imagine it means she wasn't the first captain of a Star Trek series in this universe, but maybe at the time, 1995, Star Trek Voyager
It had just started.
Oh, that's cool.
It did.
You caught it.
It had just started. Oh, wow. Okay. Oh, yeah.
I wonder who was the equivalent of Jim Kirk in the 1960s.
Yeah. I know, because that was a big deal. She was like the first female. She wasn't the first female president female president, female captain.
Yeah.
She was the first female captain on a televised Star Trek show. Mm-hmm. That was a big deal that was made. So, that's interesting. Okay. And so going back to that, I guess maybe they got away from the whole money thing by basically forcing them to all get jobs, so that issue wouldn't even come up because they would just be getting paid whatever on that earth, I guess. Mm-hmm. So, and then Rembrandt, well, that's another excuse for Clement to sing. Basically going out in the street and he's like hurting his voice. Is like this instrument is like it's
the most strained it's ever been.
What was it? Tears on my pillow.
Yeah.
And then they're all getting jobs, and I thought that was that comment Arturo made seemed like really sexist. That's kind of what we were saying. How it was like I didn't think of Arturo that way before or after this, where it's basically it would be my pleasure.
Yeah, like not in previous episodes necessarily, but like it is his like sole motivation for the entirety of this episode.
Right.
I'll be interested to see whether he continues being super sexist, because I haven't watched this since the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like his comment does not land. Then you know, he does not like the attitude that women have toward him in this world, and like it becomes like his vendetta basically, because you know, the sexism is strong with him.
Yeah, and the lady disregarded him, and the mayor disregarded him for being fat, or being overweight, for facial hair.
Oh,
and his rudeness. She's like, otherwise, all of that, I would have probably considered you.
And phony British accent, she said.
That's what it was. Yeah, and the phony British accent. Yeah. And I was like, woo! Nobody's ever given it straight until today.
She would probably also assume that he knows she's the mayor, like, and so it's kind of extra impertinent, shall we say?
Okay. Yeah.
Yep.
That's followed up by Quinn saying, "Congratulations, Professor! You just hit on the mayor." It's a good line. I like that quote. Yeah. It was a good dose of embarrassment for Arturo.
Yeah. Well, he deserved it.
Yeah. I have no sympathy for him at all in this episode. Let me make that clear.
Me neither.
Yeah. He does come across as very, all that, not even sexist, just like he's like kind of crude and, just.
He was angry.
Like him and Wade, it's just like they're really like coming to blows with each other in this. It's like.
She has no time for him in this. Like, I'm with her.
Yeah, because she tells it like it is, and he refuses to listen. Yeah, she told him at least 6 times, I think, in the episode. She's like, "You're not even listening. You're not even looking around. You're not even like being in this world. You've just chosen that this is wrong, and you have to do something about it." And it's
I mean, like, I mean, he basically is like saying it because they're looking for the jobs, and that's how the guy, what's his name, Danny? That's how he notices him, because he's saying no sex should have precedence over the other, which is true. It shouldn't be that way at all. Everybody should be equal and everything.
That, though.
But it just, like a lot of it is just kind of like they're there, like this is the way this world is. It's like, wasn't he just talking about like they've been going on and on about we shouldn't get involved in this world's politics or whatever, and it's like, I guess because they're here for so long, it's like, well, now they kind of have to get involved because they need jobs, and so I mean,
it's interesting to see them integrate into society. I mean, it's very different ways of doing it in this episode. Wade's working for the mayoral campaign, and so is Quinn. Arturo's running against her, and then Rembrandt is a kept man, but they've all managed to, starting to carry on lives, even though they know it's only 6.5 weeks they'll be there.
Yeah, because Wade gets the job like right away, and the men are still struggling with it, and
because she's a smart woman.
Yeah.
Rembrandt gets his position right away. Also, I like how for like 90% of the time he's loving it. He's like, I know exactly what's going on here, and I'm cool with
it. Yeah,
he doesn't see it as demeaning in any way.
Yeah, I did think that was pretty funny. I was like, oh, he's really relaxing into this unique situation. The woman's in charge, telling him what he needs to do.
Right.
It worked out pretty good. And then even when the boyfriend shows up and he's like, dude.
Oh, God.
I'm not even here for that long. This is not even that serious. It was really funny because he's like, calm down.
Yeah.
And the guy's like, I'm sorry, my therapist says I need to get all my feelings out. And he's like, I get it. She's just not into you, bro.
And then he has that line that kind of made me cringe. He's like, oh God, what did he say? Don't let her break your heart, boyfriend.
Yeah.
boyfriend. Men don't talk like that.
It's not in our world, but they do in that world.
You know? He was in touch with his feminine side. He's like, I could put on the cook dinner all night and do all of this. Like, this is nice and cozy.
Yeah.
It was really funny. I like a good point, Mike. It was really, it was a good point. It's like how some people are more in touch with their feminine side than the others.
That was just kind of like my issue was like, it seemed to be almost too convenient that it was just, you got the impression that the men were acting like women and the women were acting like men because of like, men have this testosterone going on and they're much generally more aggressive. We're not all like that, but
he's a love bug.
Yeah.
That's what he does. He fit perfectly right into the little Cinderella shoe.
He would.
He's not stupid, you know? He was like, oh, I don't have to stay in a hotel. I get caviar and champagne and this lady's interested in me and she's going to help me with my career if we're stuck here.
Yeah.
I mean, he went for it.
Yeah. Going back to Arturo, that's where there were so he what is it? He can't get the job and the men are basically like, oh, we want to meet up with you. We want to have like a talk and everything. And they invite him out to eat. And that's when they basically propose, we want you to run for mayor against her. And he's like, me? That's the shot from the opening credits, by the way. That's from the first season. He's eating
the chicken wing?
Yeah, that's that shot of him.
Oh, okay.
That they used for season 1 in the opening credits.
I'll notice that now.
Yeah. And he's saying later on too, because he's getting into it with Wade, and he's like, "Look, I don't have a chance of winning this thing, but I could at least give them some kind of like send some kind of message or something." So even he doesn't even expect that he's going to win this thing at all. So, but he's like the underdog, and I do like how everything is playing out, and there's this whole parallel with when Reagan was almost assassinated.
Oh yeah,
it's like almost the exact same thing, like beat for beat. That's like what happened. They were like coming out of the hotel room or something, and then like somebody came and shot at him. That's like exactly what happened with Reagan. I think the parallel was like
because he was running. Yeah.
We would know this more because we're the American. We're the Americans here.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that because Arturo later quotes Reagan and the guy who heard him says, "Who's Ronald Reagan?"
Yeah, you're right.
It's like to quote Reagan, I'd rather be in Philadelphia or something like that. And then who's Ronald Reagan? Yeah, because who is he on this world? Because you mentioned Mike how because Wade was saying like about the war, and then a brick is thrown through the window.
Yeah. I mean, at one point she says, "No war, no violent crime. Things aren't so bad here." Until a brick, gets thrown through the window and a bomb threat is made. So obviously, no violent crime is a bit of an overstatement.
Right.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I like that. This is partly why the whole like, oh, no violent crime in the woman-ruled world like doesn't ring true for me, because like, I mean, how much of, I mean, you can get into the whole debate about like how much of the way we behave is, how we're raised and how we're socialized and all that. But also like that implies that there's something like inherently violent or non-violent in each of our natures. And it's the same argument as saying that, women belong at home raising children because that's in their nature, right? It's all one argument when you kind of like boil it down, right? So, and then the other thing is like, you can't like really like tell a convincing story in a world where there's apparently like no violent crime and no war just because hand wave women are in charge. Like there's great. How did they accomplish that? Like, do they not still have, conflicting interests? And is there not still competition? Is there not still like conflict over territory? Like, obviously there is violent crime because we are like harassing and attacking political candidates.
Right. Yeah. That's my thing is how did things get resolved on this earth? Because granted, women, I genuinely am a belief that women are usually smarter than men. They make smarter decisions or they're what was the word I was looking for before?
We're stronger.
Well, so it's like men are generally stronger physically, and women are stronger emotionally. That's kind of.
Well, we were having this conversation before in the car. My mother. So our son is now 4, and I have. Well, we run 3 businesses together, and I could be taking off with my businesses like big time marketing, a lot of marketing. If I wasn't distracted, taking care of the house, taking care of my mom, taking care of what are we eating for dinner, you know. And so in my head, and I was just discussing this, it was like, you know, there's people who choose not to have kids and they want to go off with their goals or whatever. That's one thing. But it's another when you are the person that is the person who happens to be female, and it's just part of our nature to be nurturing and educational, and not that men are not helpful, they are.
It's expected of us, right? Like
it tends to be, and it's part of our nature to be more motherly because that's what we do as females. And so in my head, I'm thinking like all of these CEOs, you know, they probably have enough money, and in their society, they probably are more community oriented, where they have other females helping them raise their children, take care of the house while they can move on, you know, in their businesses and things like that.
I think in an ideal world, that's how it would be. Like in this world, I think we see it like, it looks like we have a lot of like, you know, like husbands at home raising the kids, like in more of an exact parallel, right? It doesn't seem like a better way. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not fully on board with the whole like it's in women's nature piece. Like I think you know, when something's expected of you long enough, like you start to feel like it's in your nature, right? Not to say there's no free will there, but I like nor to say that I don't enjoy like the nurturing that I do, but I don't necessarily think that that Mike couldn't do that, for example, or like, you know, he does. So, but I absolutely hear you that, you know, if I had like a stay-at-home wife just taking care of things, my career would be, probably totally different as well.
And that's what we saw when they were at the parks. There was like all of the men were walking around, taking their kids to the park, to the zoo, feeding them and things like that. And it was like, oh, okay. So
and at that time it wouldn't like right now, like it's far more the norm, I think, for both parents to be working. At that time it was probably still in transition a bit, right?
Right.
Good point.
Yeah, this is back in the 90s.
This is in the 90s, yeah.
Right. Yeah. You have to look at it that way, yeah.
Like, if I think back to my own family at that time, like, my mom was a stay-at-home mom in 1995.
Yeah.
And I have children who are not that different in age from, you know, how old I was in 1995, but I'm not.
Meanwhile, my mother was one of the first Mexican-American drivers, like an actual city employee for Indianapolis, driving a bus.
Yep.
She was the second female. There was an African-American woman that was the first female in Indianapolis, and then she was the second female. And my mom was telling me when I was talking to her about this earlier, about her episode and everything, and she was like, yeah, I know. They all thought I was trying to take their jobs. I'm trying to take their well, if you, and my mom shut them up because they pulled pranks on her. They did all kinds of stuff. And she's like, if you just pay your alimony, then I wouldn't have to be here. I was like, good point, Mom. Good point. And then they shut up after that.
Yep.
Good comeback.
She's wrong. She did that for 20 years.
Yeah.
Drove a city bus.
Yeah. Yeah, I just wanted to throw that out there. That was the thing that my mom always used to say about you know, because the reason why women are you know, like they just have all this, they can take all that strength that we can't, and we are just much more impulsive, and we think with our fists and everything because we're defective, because we have that defective Y chromosome, because the little thingy breaks off. That's what Mom always used to say.
But she's accurate, because that little thingy breaks off and it goes. If you have a boy, when you're pregnant and you have a boy, that little thingy breaks off and it goes in the back of the woman's brain. That's how we know what they're up to all the time. Carol, get down off the counter. Are you playing with the water again? Leave that alone.
You guys have to look forward to now, a little baby boy running around.
Yay,
Yes.
yeah, congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, I will be so interested to see like what those differences are now that we have 3 girls so far. Our baby's a baby, but we'll get into the toddler years. We will see what's up.
But at least Mike is not outnumbered. And, well, they are still outnumbered, but like at least he's got somebody now in his.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Well,
no, anyway. It's totally fun. You're gonna love it. You're gonna love it.
So what is the thing that Arturo does? He wants to sabotage this thing. So he wants to, when he finally realizes that everything's getting out of hand, and he's like, I'm going to pull a muskie. So I didn't. Yeah. I should have looked this up beforehand.
Yeah, there was like a musky fish joke.
Yeah, it's something that.
Oh, you're going fishing?
Yeah.
I mean, he explained it, but he basically said that the guy cried during the campaign or something, and it basically just. I think it's a real.
Oh,
it's something that's real, and I should have looked it up beforehand, but I've just been such a busy week.
He became emotional.
Right. Yeah.
And he's like, I'm totally going to throw them all off from voting on me because they don't believe in being an emotional.
Right.
Hello, they're women.
And then ended up completely backfiring on him, and his points go up, and he actually has a chance of winning the thing. Mm-hmm. So,
well, it's funny. Right after the debate, they come in and they're like, "Oh, we got the poll results. They love you." It's like, well, how did they get those poll results so quickly after the debate? Yeah, that would typically take days to get A, the polling done, and B, get the results in. It was
a focus group, maybe, but
people were watching. But it was
maybe they have a whole different system.
Maybe women are in charge. Yeah.
Here was my quibble though with the women and the election campaign altogether is that like was the mayor running unopposed before? Why is there not a second female candidate?
That's was she running like was it no contest or something up until
it was no contest.
It did. They did make that's a good point.
She was
it seems unusual for a big city like San Francisco.
Yeah.
And I mean, it doesn't seem that plausible that, a man no one's ever heard of before and whose credentials are totally phony in this world would be able to overtake an incumbent mayor. But it would, to me, seem plausible that he could upset, as the third candidate in what was previously a 2-way race and, cause, say, a more progressive female candidate to win or, cost the mayor her job as a result of, splitting the vote and that sort of thing. I think that might have made for it. Maybe they just didn't have time, we got to stick to the format. But.
Yeah. Well, they made the joke about laughing at, they laughed at Ross Perot and like, they're still laughing at Ross Perot. Ross the third candidate that came along that just like everybody, I don't even remember when that was. That was, I guess, Clinton. I guess that must have been the 90s with Clinton and Bush.
Say like 91 or 94.
It must have been when Bush and Clinton were up together.
I think you're right.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Was that 92?
Yeah, it must have. It had to be. Yeah, it had to be 92. That was the most recent election up until that point. So that must have been it. But so. Yeah, I mean, we're just that's kind of like the gist of everything. The only other real main thing going on was with Rembrandt and that the woman lying to him and just really just schmoozing him and making him feel like on top of the world but she's lying to him and I know he said it like again like do women really act like men and are they gonna I mean some women do.
So listen, this was the 90s. Right. And what's great about this episode is they were highlighting the sexuality of women when you couldn't do that before. And he, as a performer, probably did this all the time with other women.
Right.
So throwing it back into his face and seeing what it's like on the other side was the wonderful parallel. And it was the comedic bump in the show. It's like, oh, yeah, this is a possibility that this could happen to him.
I get what they were trying to go for. I'm just looking at it like men make it pretty obvious when they're doing stupid stuff like that. Women are much more like, you don't know what they're thinking. They hide it very well.
That's
a
what
lot
I'm
of
saying.
times.
We're smart.
They don't like Quinn says, I felt like a piece of meat. And I'm like, men don't notice that half the times. Women don't make it so obvious. At least most women don't. I mean, in my experience, they don't do it very often. I mean, you do.
You know what we want when we say what we want.
I know. You're much more,
direct.
Yes, you're much more direct. But...
Well, in this society, they were allowed to be more direct.
Right. I get.
Yeah.
I mean, you go to a bar,
mm-hmm.
and women will tell you if they're going to be interested or not.
Yeah, I know. But a lot of men just don't pick up on the signals either. So, because we're stupid.
I don't know. They've been doing it for a while. Sorry.
Well, and that's also my thing is, I know those are the stereotypes with the men being a lot more violent and assertive. Like, how did women take control? If they got so sick of society, how did they make the men? I mean, not that there's ever an excuse, but like men, there are a lot of really violent men out there who would basically beat their way into submission. Like, how did that not happen? How did the men just get like that? That's kind of where I'm looking at it. Like, how did women?
Yeah, it comes off like it's a consensus. Like the men supposedly agree to, except for this group that's recruited Arturo.
Yeah.
Which it doesn't seem all that likely out of the blue.
Like, it would be one thing if it was like if they were on an Earth where women had the testosterone and men didn't, and it literally was reversed, then I could maybe see it being more of a play on that, like almost like a Star Trek. I mean, I guess that's more of a Star Trek type thing, but
like Angel.
That's just where I'm coming from. I know that you're not supposed to take the show very seriously, but I'm looking at it from that point of view.
Have you guys ever seen that movie where the guy came up with the idea for lying?
Oh, that was good.
There was that movie
with Rick Gervais. Rick Gervais.
And it's like the concept of lying or something like that, and nobody could lie. Everybody had to tell the truth. And then one day, something clicked in his brain, and he was like, "No, I need $100 million. That's in my bank account." And the lady's like, "Okay." And just started, and it's the concept of lying. So maybe in their society, there was the concept of extra testosterone for the guys.
Yeah.
And they just were like, "Hey, why don't you just listen to me? I'm telling you what we should do. We should do what what we say." And and they're like, "Okay, that sounds good."
Yeah. That was an interesting movie, by the way. I forget what that was called. Of The Invention of Lying.
The Invention of Lying.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Ricky Gervais.
But it's in a world, in a bubble where nobody had the concept of it, and it's like until he comes along, and he's like using his fantastical writing powers to write.
Yeah, literally the people who were actors were basically just reenactors. Mm-hmm. They were reenacting history because they couldn't make up stories. Because it's lying.
Right. Yeah.
That's probably where they were way before, this was in the 90s, so.
Yeah.
I don't know, I'm just throwing
I mean, hey, like I said, it's not, I don't hate the episode. When I look at it like that, I'm like, I guess maybe now I'm looking at it more like, this just doesn't make sense, or this should make more sense. I don't know. I mean, because it was fun though, and then they make the bet at the end. It's well, you said it, Mike, in the notes that it's convenient.
The slide is on election day. Yeah.
It is very convenient.
That's very convenient.
Yeah, that just seems. Yeah, I know. But that they make the bet that if Arturo wins, she will give him. What, like a shoulder rub that will give him goosebumps or something, like the best.
Yeah, that'll put hair on his back. I think
hair on his back.
More hair?
Weird like that.
Yeah. But if he
put hair back on that pointy head of yours. That's what she said.
That's what it was. Okay, that's what it was. And that if he lost, he'd have to be her slave for the whole next slide.
Yeah.
So that's one of my. I did like that part of the episode. And then the numbers don't look good. And he gives that concession speech, which, like you said, it's like right at the end. Like it's like literally like they have a minute to slide.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and it's just like he's just doing that whole thing and whatever. And then they slide out, and it's like, oh, wait a minute, the numbers were wrong, or CNN was wrong, or something like that. And then that's when we get to that final world where it's. How long are they there? He's like
a week.
9 days.
Yeah.
They gave the exact time, but
Wade is counting.
How much longer are we here? Yeah, it's 9 days at least.
They're basically like in they call it EarthPrime.com called it Tropicana World, but they're basically just being served. I don't know, those nice drinks, and poor Arturo is just there sweating. He's like, how much longer do we have?
That's right. He asked how much longer we have.
He asked how much longer, and she's counting the seconds and smiling.
Yeah.
And then it's like, he's like, did you guys vote for him? He's like,
nah.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have voted for him either.
No.
And I saw that I'm looking through earthprime.com. They made a good point too. If they were only there for 6 weeks and they were living in a hotel room, how were they even registered to vote?
I wondered that as well.
Maybe that's why they didn't vote.
Yeah, maybe that's why they didn't vote for him. Yeah.
They didn't have
That's a really good point. Yeah. But
also, like, how lazy are the opposition research people? Like, he's literally, either doesn't exist or does not have the credentials he says he does. Like, they're like, oh, you say you're a college professor? That's unusual for a man. Run for mayor. Nobody, no journalist dug into that. Like, the opposing candidate didn't dig into that. Like,
well, when they ran the attack ad, they basically said, he says he's a professor, but we can find no work history.
Right, okay. Yeah.
Or he refused to provide work history. That's what it was.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Like I'm assuming their doubles maybe did not exist on this world either.
It seems that way, yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Probably.
That's a good point.
They don't always have doubles on the worlds, so it just
not always. Yeah.
Or their doubles don't live in San Francisco or whatever.
Yeah, I wonder if it would have changed Arturo's mind if he'd stuck around to hear the results had come in before they slid.
Yeah.
Because they said, when are you going to stay?
But
he was the other
thing.
He didn't make up his mind. He hadn't made up his mind, and then they was like,
well, basically he thought he lost, so he decided to slide. I thought before he said if he won, he was going to stay.
I think,
but I wonder if the Arturo of this world, if he exists, would step in and say, "Oh yeah, I'm Arturo." Yeah, he might be in England, watching after his grandchildren or something.
Good point.
Yeah. And that's pretty much all I can. I think that's all I could really say about the episode. I think that's. I think we said a lot of everything that we were going to say about it. I think.
Well, I want to know. Liane, would you?
A couple other.
You both? Would you guys vote for Arturo?
No.
What about me? Would you vote for me?
If you were running for mayor?
Yeah.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Fantastic.
What were you going to say?
You get stuff done. You tell it like it is.
I just heard about how you have 3 businesses, sold.
Yeah. It's a struggle, but, we make it happen.
Yeah. Were you going to say something, Mike? Sorry.
Oh, yeah. There were a couple of remarks that I had about earlier in the episode where it makes sense that this was following Last Days as opposed to the original run, that Quinn was drawing Wade's hair, and it was quite an intimate setting. They were there on the bed, and he was just nicely kind of massaging her hair and drawing it for her. It seemed quite close there, so it made a sensical follow-up to Last Days, where they got they had their romantic dinner and their kiss. And
because she introduced him as her boyfriend when she was trying to get him a job.
That's right.
It's like, oh, I hear you're Wade's boyfriend. She has great taste.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that all gets lost in the original air date, where it's like there's several episodes in between this.
Right.
So
it's one of the first moments we see that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad we're watching it in the intended watch order and not in the original air date order as a result.
I think it just makes sense to do that. I mean, but I'm a man. What do I know?
You do all right, honey.
Oh, thank you.
And I liked Rembrandt singing "Smoke Gets in Your Eyes" the second time around, originally by the Platters, of course, before being picked up by Serena. But it reminded me of Scott Bakula singing it as Sam in Quantum Leap in the episode Stand Up.
Okay.
He's singing in one of the clubs, and it just, I don't know. It just was a very strong Quantum Leap reminder there. And,
I'd have to watch that again.
The song's been stuck in my head now ever since.
I'd have to watch that again because I just remembered him, Rembrandt, singing that on the street with the tears on my pillow, and so I don't remember what else he was.
He was singing "Smoke Gets in Your Eyes" when Serena stops in her pink Porsche and honks at him.
Mm-hmm.
Good catch.
Yeah. Well, if that's it, I guess it's just our final ratings and our final thoughts on it. I think me and Liane are like we're at the low end, I think. So I guess Liane, well, ladies first. That's because right. Ladies first. So yeah.
Sure. Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, you've heard some of my criticisms. Like, I did enjoy watching the episode. Don't get me wrong. Like, it's an interesting concept to explore, and it's I probably should be like viewing it with 1995 eyes instead of 2024 eyes, but I have the eyes I have. So because I could not root for Arturo at all, and like found out a few other gaps that bugged me, I gave this 6 out of 10 pots of coffee.
Okay. Did you think of a silly object?
A silly object?
Yeah, like something in the episode. I don't know, something. Just something real. I don't know, something related to the whole story.
I thought it was interesting. It was the first time that Arturo had ever had fake cheese.
Oh,
yeah,
the cheese.
The whole they're like, what is this? Spraying the cheese in his mouth.
This is not
like,
cheese.
It's food. Eat it. And he was like,
Brie is cheese.
Because I love Brie. Yes, he's right.
Cheese. This tastes like plastic. It's one of the best lines. Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. It was like, they're settling, and he's like, no. It was another example of him like, no, this isn't. I'm not settling for this. This is not. This is not what you should sustain life on.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Do you want to use that as your rating, like out of 10?
The poor man should have got some cheese.
He did.
Brought him. They should have had. He should have been eating a platter of Brie.
Mm-hmm.
But instead, he was.
We brought down bananas, and it looked like cheddar.
Yeah. Cheddar whiz.
So what's your number rating?
I don't know. Maybe a 7.5. Maybe. Just because
fake
it was
plates of cheese.
Well, sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Why not?
Yeah.
It goes with my wine. What can I say?
7.5 because I'm sorry I cut you off.
Yeah, no, just because it was just an interesting dynamic, and being in the 90s, that was kind of a big deal to you got Sex in the City, and and here they are trying to play with their twist of it. Yeah.
Mostly before Sex in the City too.
Well, maybe they inspired some of it, but I mean, TLC, come on, it's the 90s.
Well, yeah, like I said, I had my issues with it, but it's still better than a lot of stuff that comes later on. There's so much worse of Sliders that comes later on. Sorry, Liane, it gets worse later on.
That's kind of where I'm coming from too. Yeah.
But it's still pretty good, so I didn't want to give it a 6. Now I almost want to bring it up to a 7, but I think I will say 6.5. Boyfriends.
Yes, boyfriend.
Well, I guess I'm a bit of the outlier here. This is one of my favorites, as I mentioned, so I'm giving it 9 campaign buttons out of 10.
9 campaign buttons.
Yeah.
Okay. Sounds good.
Yep. And well, I guess we'll bring up some of those favorite lines because, like we said, I cracked up laughing when Arturo was like, "Sir, I need to kiss that baby."
Yes.
Running after him.
Sir, I need to kiss your baby. And he chases him.
Oh my god.
Creepy.
That's why I love this episode, because it has the humor in it.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely.
Creepy factor 10.
Mm. and then he says it later, that moment when I changed that disgusting little brat's diaper. Classic.
Yeah.
And also, well, I guess I learned to cry over nothing just by watching you. He's telling Rembrandt.
Yeah.
And Rembrandt took that as a compliment.
That's right. Yeah.
He's like, oh, you like my song. Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. We want to do the comments quick, and then
So we had some feedback from our previous review of Last Days. Sliders fan blog, aka Thomas, said Last Days is easily one of the top 5 episodes among Slider fans. A favorite line of his is, no comment, no comment. I shocked the world, man. I shocked the world.
Oh.
And Lewis Jones 2620, who's been faithfully following all of our new videos. Thank you, Lewis.
Yeah.
Said definitely a top season 1 episode. The professor was hilarious. Going to have to start a rewatch soon, and looking forward to the next video. So
yeah. So thank you for. I'm assuming you subscribed, and thank you for watching. I appreciate it. Yeah. So I guess we're turning it back over to the ladies to close out. Anything that you want to say about yourself and your life? Anything that you want people to know about you? You've mentioned the businesses before.
So, I mean, yeah. Mm-hmm. So I'm a business owner. I'm also an actress and a singer. And I currently, at the moment, probably could admit that I work like 5 jobs. Making it happen. Yeah. That if you're interested in learning more, you can check out some of those jobs that I do. The Murder Mystery Company. Mm-hmm. They were recently on Shark Tank, and
that's right.
I'll be very busy this coming fall season with all of the Halloween shows and fun things in the holiday parties at Christmas. So I'm super excited, looking forward to that. Mm-hmm. And as far as my businesses, I'm a tour operator. So I've got 2 companies, one in New York Broadway Tours, and one here in Winter Haven Food Tours. And then Damon takes over our Story Tales dog walking business.
Yes, let's do. Yeah.
So,
yep.
He walks dogs.
Service. Yep.
He walks dogs, and I walk people.
Yep.
Awesome.
That's what we do.
Yep. That's
to make
that's
the ends meet.
Yeah. That's what I do outside of my normal job that I got.
Other than also being a stay-at-home mom.
Yeah.
So that's how we make things happen.
Yep. Yeah, I have my other job too, and yeah. So, Liane,
what would you like to say?
Anything you want to say, or?
Wow, yeah. I don't have nearly so many interesting tidbits. I'm currently on maternity leave, Canadian maternity leave, so I'm off for another 6 months. Hooray!
Nice. Mm-hmm.
With our youngest, we have 3 other kids. Mm-hmm. So sometimes I wish I was a stay-at-home mom because, goodness, like there's a lot going on. But I thank you so much for having me. I've watched every episode with Mike for like all of your videos, but never participated before. I just get to chirp along from the sidelines and like hope some of my stuff makes it into his notes or whatever. So this was fun. Thanks so much.
Mm-hmm.
So happy we got to meet.
Thank you. Yeah. We all got to meet each other. Yeah. Very nice. Yeah. I guess I'll say it. So we'll be going back to our regularly scheduled our thing that we're doing next time with Eggheads. That will be the next one in production order. It originally aired before this episode, and so these 2 episodes are also switched. But not that it matters much. I mean, it really mattered more during the beginning of the season, anyway. But I think that's it. You want to take us out, Mike? Or
just be sure to like and subscribe here on our YouTube channel, please, and share your opinions in the comments below. As you've heard, we do roundups of comments in the future videos, and be sure to check out our website at fandomentanglement.com, where we have the summaries for each episode, each of our reviews, and links to the videos, and you can watch it right on our website as well.
Yep. All right. So
cool.
You guys should take us out, you and Liane. So
thank you for watching.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for watching.
I'm Damon. This is Mike.
I'm Amada.
Right. Yeah.
And Liane.
See you guys. Bye.
See you next time.
Bye.